Welcome back to What's the Vibe with Katie and Amy, season 2.
Yes, we are back.
We're excited to be back. You're going to notice some interesting editing in this episode. Thank you. I did have a family situation. So Katie's story we recorded 3 or 4 weeks ago at this point. And so you're going to hear hers, and then I'm going to get right into mine.
Well, take it away, Katie.
Yeah, can't wait to hear. Action. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to What's the Vibe podcast.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Amy. And we're so glad you're here. If this is your first time, please like and subscribe, share with a friend. Thank you to those that consistently listen to us. We really appreciate it.
Yes, yes.
So what is your vibe?
Are a little bit all over the place. The vibes are police.
Are they?
The vibes are true crime or unsolved cases.
Okay.
The vibes are narcissism, or they're not narcissism.
Yeah, that's not the vibe either.
Not the vibe. And the vibe's also the 90s.
That is the vibe.
That is the vibe.
Yeah.
Only a little bit, but
yeah.
So
I wish I would have known the vibes were the 90s. I could have definitely done like a big wing over here.
Oh, yes.
Some blue eyeshadow, some neon.
That would have been really the 90s or 80s.
I was early 90s, so
okay.
I was still hanging into there to that big hair and stuff.
Still the neon colors, the Joan Jett. So I'm going to tell you about a couple of true crime cases out of Arkansas.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you one, but not the ending. And then I'm going to tell you the second one, and then I'm going to connect them.
Oh,
so they're going to kind of jump a little bit.
Okay.
But you'll see why when I get to the end. So I want to first tell you about a woman named Amy.
Okay. The vibe is Amy's.
The vibe is Amy's again.
Love that.
Amy with a Y this time.
Okay.
So this story is going to be about Amy Harrison. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of jump right into it. But Amy met her husband Andrew when they were 21 and got married a couple of years later. Graduated from college, the two of them did, in 1995. Okay. So once they had married, graduated, they moved to Arkansas, a town called Roger, Arkansas.
Okay.
Have you ever been?
No. I'm just doing the math. If they graduated college in 95, this Amy is probably or was my exact same age.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
So just 29.
Yeah, just her birthday just yesterday. Yeah. So once they moved to Arkansas, Amy went on to be a teacher, and Andrew went on to be a police officer in Roger. And just so you kind of have an idea of what the town of Roger is like, it's very conservative. It is a very quiet town. It's one of those places that everybody just kind of knows everybody. You know, I mean, he was a police officer. She was a teacher. So they were known.
They're ringing in the community,
yes,
obviously.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in 1997, on a Sunday, Amy went to school. She was going to do just a couple hours of work as a teacher.
On a Sunday.
On a Sunday.
Okay.
And she said that in Roger, Sundays were all about church. So the town just kind of shut down. There were a couple of churches in town, but they would also do a service at the school in the cafeteria, which I thought was kind of interesting. I've never heard that before.
Arkansas.
Huh,
okay.
Interesting.
It seems like that's not a very good separation of church and state.
It does not. That's why we don't live in the South. So Amy got to school around 9:30, and she said people were already in the cafeteria for church, and she just kind of wanted to be left alone, so she went into her classroom and locked the door. She said that about an hour went by and she could tell that somebody was like jiggling the door handle. Like somebody was trying to get in, or maybe they were confused.
Oh.
But then it stopped. Like,
Okay.
no, nothing happened. She continued to work, prep for the week, and decided she had to go to the bathroom. So she said she got up and went maybe 15 to 20 feet away from her classroom into the teacher's lounge, where they had like a couple of private bathrooms. She came out of the bathroom and there was a man. The end. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Not a man. Oh, that's terrible.
Okay. I'm sorry. No jokes, because this is sad. So there was a man standing there with a gun in her face.
Oh my gosh.
And she said she just was immediately like, do whatever I have to do to survive. And she said that while she was standing in front of this man, she was trying to be very mindful of like taking notes in her mind about, do I recognize anything or anything that might help me to be able to identify him. She is a very, very smart woman. Spoiler alert, she is still alive.
Oh.
But the man, he had on a ski cap and sunglasses. So she said what you could see of his face was like from here down.
A ski cap. Oh, and sunglasses. Okay.
And sunglasses. But he forced her back into the bathroom, made her remove her clothes, and assaulted her. She said that it really felt like it was forever, but it was probably just a couple of minutes. But again, she was just really trying to focus on just doing whatever she could to survive.
Oh my gosh. Is church still going on?
Church is still going on in the school.
Wow.
So she said that, after a couple minutes, he forced her up and told her to go into a classroom right beside the teacher's lounge. So she did. And she said that she noticed that he was being very careful, like careful not to touch anything. Like he had really thought this out. But he took her into the classroom and assaulted her again, and then just suddenly stopped and said, I'm leaving. Don't tell anybody here I was here, and don't follow me. So she waited a couple of minutes and she just ran.
Oh my gosh.
So when she was running, she said she didn't really like have an idea of where she was going or what she was even going to do, but eventually she ran into a custodian that was there. And she just said, I have been attacked. I need to call the police. And I did listen to the police, like the 911 call, and he actually called for her.
Oh my goodness.
And they got the police out there right away. And while they were on the phone with 911, she said, my name is Amy Harrison. I'm Andrew's wife. Because of course everybody knows who he is. He is a police officer.
Yeah.
So when the 911 dispatcher realized who Amy was, she didn't just dispatch the police, but she got in touch with the chief of police and said, essentially, stop what you're doing and go to this school. So he did, and they launched an investigation. Amy went to the hospital. She had meds and was examined and started to be interviewed. And she was telling the police all of these details. Like the man that assaulted her wasn't wearing any shoes. He only had on socks.
Ew.
I know. Isn't that weird?
I don't know why that would bother me so much. But like, you can't even, you live here?
Right.
That's what freaks me out.
Yeah. Like,
where are your shoes?
Yeah. She could tell that he hadn't shaved in a few days. But she said the thing that was the most concerning to her was that he kept asking her, "Do you recognize me?" Like he knows her.
Oh.
"Do you realize who I am? Can you tell who I am by my voice?" And luckily, when she she's just a very smart woman because she's already remembered all of these details. She said that he had strawberry blonde facial hair. Like just has a lot of details. She was able to get his DNA. So they obtained his DNA, ran it through CODIS, and didn't find a match.
Oh, man. Like she got his DNA through, it was obtained through the rape kit? Or like did she scratch him or something?
No. So during the assault, the police said that she had wiped her hand on her shirt and obtained the DNA that way.
Okay.
And she said that when she did that, he was like, "What are you doing?" Because he was worried, like he's being very meticulous. He's being very careful. And I wish I could remember her response, but she said that is just what really saved her to be able to get that DNA.
Oh my gosh.
So they started DNA testing people in her life. Like if he knows her,
Yeah.
tested her husband, they tested her family, everybody that works at the school, anybody that would go to the church, and nobody was popping.
What in the world?
So this was in 1997.
Katie, imagine being Amy.
I can't.
How scared of everybody.
You don't know.
You're like, I know them, but who was that?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
She said she didn't recognize his voice, though. But it's still scary enough to know that you clearly recognize me.
He thinks I would.
Right.
Something's crazy there.
They did have enough details with her to be able to make a sketch. So they had DNA and somewhat of a sketch to go off of. And one of the churchgoers told the police that when they were leaving the school, they noticed a man matching the description getting into a blue pickup truck and driving away.
No shoes, but got a vehicle.
It was weird. That's what I thought too. But then it was discovered that that person, they found the vehicle later that night, and that person was not the one who had assaulted her. So then they started to match DNA to known sex offenders. And at the same time, Amy is just, she's struggling. Like she's trying to process everything. She said that even for the longest time, it was really hard to say what had happened to her. She said it really impacted her marriage. She never knew how to communicate like what she was needing. And she ultimately ended up getting a divorce.
Dang it.
I know. So after a few weeks, she said, I had to go back to work. Like, I can't just be off of work forever. I know. I can't imagine going through one thing, but then just having to pick up your life. And
so sad.
So by the time she goes back to teaching, the investigation just kind of slows down, comes to a halt. They don't really have, they've tested everybody in her life. They don't really have any new leads. But the town was concerned because in Arkansas at that time, there was a statute of limitations of 6 years. Which, I'm sorry, that is not long enough.
There should be no statute of limitations.
Exactly.
There should be none. It should be just like murder.
Yes.
You've taken something from somebody. Like,
right.
Yeah. Oh, so aggravating.
So 5 years later, in 2003, they've got until, so this is the beginning of the year, they've got until the end of the year before the statute of limitations run out. And the talk is starting to come about in the town again.
I bet.
Well, at the same time, in Wisconsin, there was something that was created called the John Doe Warrant Act. And it was really kind of a lifesaver for her case because that John Doe Warrant Act means that as long as you have a person's DNA, if you don't know their name, you can still put a warrant out for their arrest. And if there is an active warrant, the statute of limitations
that's brilliant.
is basically non-existent.
Okay.
Like, as long as there is an active warrant, they're good to go. So that's all I have on Amy's case right now.
Okay.
Kind of just stops there. It really stopped in 1997. They couldn't, and the world was so much different now, technologically advanced, and just things like that. But 18 miles north of Roger, Arkansas, there is a town called Gateway. Gateway is small.
Oh no, another small town.
405 people.
Okay, that's
on the
small.
That is small. I thought I grew up in a small town. We had like 1,500 people.
Yeah, 400 people.
Like, that's one of those you just drive through and you blink and you miss it.
You have to marry your cousin. If you come from
right.
Which I'm open.
In Arkansas. Get you a plane ticket out of here.
Oh, shoot.
So, a little bit about Gateway, Arkansas, okay? Although it is small, they do have a city council.
Okay.
They have a mayor, which I don't even think our town had a mayor growing up.
405 people.
Right. And they had police.
Okay.
Like,
well, there's 400 jobs right there.
That's
everybody else
done. So, I mean, it still kind of operated like, but also at the same time, the mayor and like one of the men I'm going to tell you about, his name is James. He's kind of like the maintenance man of the town.
Okay.
They're best friends. You know what I mean?
The mayor and James are best friends?
Yeah. So it's just kind of like everybody knows each other. You trust everybody. So, like I said, they have police as well. And the mayor said they really only ever had one police officer at a time. There's not a whole lot of crime going on in a town of 400 people. Yeah. So no need to have a
force,
police unit.
A SWAT team.
You're right. So the police officer they had, his name was Grant. So Grant was pretty much the sole police officer of the town, but he had worked for the county. He was, which maybe you know what this is because I didn't, but he was a constable for the county. Have you ever heard of that?
So this has been 10, 20 years ago, I used to be neighbors with a small town police officer.
Okay.
And he told me that the police officer being called a cop is an acronym. Is that the right thing? For Constable on Patrol. So I feel like it's the same thing.
Okay.
It's just another law enforcement entity.
Okay. I wondered, they made it seem like it was a thing in the South. I don't know. They were just like, he's the constable.
I don't know.
He was the constable.
Yeah, constable.
I don't know what that means, but I mean, maybe he was just a beat cop. Or
he was on patrol.
Right. I don't know if they have a beat in the population of 405, but so Grant, because he was the only police officer, in 2016 they promoted him to chief of police. Isn't that kind of fun? I'm gonna make you chief of Amy's.
I'm the only one that wants the job.
We're the chief podcasters. That's gonna start being in our little
our
roll credits.
That's embarrassing.
I mean, he loved it.
Okay.
He loved it. And Grant, just so you kind of have like a visual image of him, Grant's a bigger guy.
Okay.
He's bigger, but he's also very muscular. He never really wanted to ask for any backup, they said, which I thought was kind of odd considering the backup would be the mayor. Right. But he really felt like he could take care of himself.
Okay.
When he was promoted, though, to chief of police, chief of one.
He has management meetings with himself.
Right. Well, I guess if I back up a little bit, the town really, they loved him.
Okay.
He was like their leader.
We're laughing, but they were doing it as a kind gesture.
Yeah.
And they really liked
Yeah.
him. Okay.
But when he was promoted,
Oh.
his wife said the job went straight to his head. Which is wild because he was literally doing the exact same thing.
And had no subordinates. Had no one.
Not to my knowledge.
Oh my gosh.
It was really bad though. They said that when he became chief, he would just like walk a little taller, like he was better than everybody. He just felt like he could overstep his authority in any way. He would carry his gun on and off duty. It got so bad that if he was driving and somebody in front of him made him mad, or if somebody would go around him and make him mad, he would pull up beside them and show them his gun.
His gun, not his badge.
His gun. Like he was essentially just threatening,
bullying people.
Yeah, with his gun.
Oh my gosh.
So he's a character.
Yeah.
He's big in the law. He's important. So he thinks. In the spring of 2016, so just 4 months after he was, well, I think it was just 2 or 3 months after he was promoted, he was following somebody around obnoxiously in his police car and ended up hitting a stump on the car, and it just messed up some things underneath, and so he needed to get it fixed. And he took his car to like the town handyman, James.
This town, I know everyone.
I know. So, like I said, James, he was just kind of like the maintenance man. Like if anybody needed anything, he would help them. He worked for the water company in town. Like he was just a great guy. He would do anything for anybody except for Grant. Oh,
he didn't like Grant. He said, "Fuck the police."
He said, so Grant took his vehicle to him and said, "I need you to fix this. Like, it's doing this, this, and this now." And James said, "No, I'm not going to fix it. He took it to James, and James said, "No, I'm not going to fix it."
Katie, you're a podcaster. What is tooked and taked and not going to fix it? And action.
James said no. He was not going to fix it because you essentially just tore up your car acting crazy. It's like he was trying to put him in his place.
Man, somebody needed to.
That didn't work. That made Grant even more upset. He said, "You can't tell me what to do. Don't ever try to cross me.
Oh.
I've got so much more power than what you know." Like,
what's that mean?
Yeah. It means he's going to wave his gun in his face, I guess.
Oh my God.
So at this point, the town, because it's not really a city, notices that Grant, sorry, there's so many names, is acting really crazy. And the power's gone to his head, and they want him out.
Dang.
So the city gives him an option and says, "Go ahead and resign, just like make it peaceful, or we're going to have to fire you." So 4 months after he becomes chief of police, he has to resign as the town police officer.
So is he just demoted back to police officer, or he's now that they're lawless?
Lawless. It's getting wild up in Gateway.
Gateway is
lawless.
Okay.
So fast forward 9 months later. Grant was at home with his wife and daughter and says, "Let's go to dinner. Like, I'll take you guys to dinner. Like, take your time, but start getting ready. I'm going to go out in the yard and do some yard work." Well, nobody really knows exactly how it came to be, but everybody's best assumption is James was heading in or out of town or down a street and passed his house.
Oh no.
And Grant got in his vehicle, followed James. James pulled off to the side of the road. So did Grant, but he stayed about 100 yards back. And James is on the phone with the mayor, his friend, and he's like, man, there is a white car behind me. I don't know what they're doing, but they keep like easing up on me. It's really suspicious. So, kind of to jump to the side at the same time, a car is driving past. And Grant, who's sitting in the back, because it's James and then Grant, puts his arm out the window and waves him around. Like, keep going, don't wait on us.
Yeah.
And the guy who was driving the vehicle, his name is John. He's an iron worker for the town, if you want to know.
Okay.
John said he got about 100 yards past the two vehicles and he heard a gunshot.
Oh my gosh.
And he said about 30 seconds later, that white car was right up on him. Like, he came out of nowhere.
Oh no.
And John is brave because he said, I've got to go back. Like, I don't know what's going on back there. I would be scared.
Oh my gosh.
But he turns around and he goes back to the truck and he finds James. And Grant has shot and killed him.
Oh my gosh.
All because he wouldn't fix his car.
This is insane.
So Grant shoots him, drives back home, and says, come on guys, let's go to dinner. And now he's like, hurry up, let's go. His wife and daughter come out, they get into a different vehicle, go to dinner, and the whole way there, his wife and daughter were saying that he was saying to them things like, I love you. If we're ever separated, just know how much I love you. I really love you, like over and over and over again. In the meantime, the police come.
To the restaurant?
To James.
Oh, to James.
To James. And unfortunately, he did not make it. But while they were up there kind of at the crime scene, they're talking to John, who called 911, and they said, we really need you to make a statement. Like, you're the one that called this in. Like, help us open this investigation. He said, absolutely. And then they started questioning him. Well, do you know, like, did you see the kind of car it was? Was there anybody inside it? How many people? He said, no, I know who was inside that car. I saw them. I was born and raised here, and that was Grant. And everybody knows, like, Grant was the chief of police. Like, what do you mean that was Grant?
Oh my gosh.
So they're still there, taking in the crime scene, and cars are like trying to get through, so they're stopping every single one of them.
Oh no.
And Grant and his family are done eating dinner, so they go home.
Things are about to get awkward.
And they pull right up to the crime scene and they say, who are you? Please step out of the vehicle. And they arrest him. So when they start to question Grant, they say, walk us through your day from when you woke up until we had you step out of the vehicle. And he said, I can't. I have to remain silent. You've read me my rights. Oh. And the police just kept saying, well, we can't help you if you don't tell us what happened. He said, but you read me my rights. I have to stay silent. So as is his choice.
I highly recommend that if you're ever arrested.
Yeah.
But although I do want this guy to go away for a long time, but that was smart. I mean, he was a cop. He knows what to do.
Yes. So somebody came in and said, okay, well, then we're going to arrest you for capital murder and prosecute you. And so they do.
And so they do. As one does.
As one does. And while they are prosecuting him, putting him into the system, they run his DNA.
No way.
This is 2017. So
no way.
20 years later. And his DNA is hit for an unsolved crime just 20 miles away for the assault of Amy Harrison.
Oh my
So, had he never murdered anybody?
He was acting as a police officer.
As a police officer.
Chief of police at that.
Mm-hmm. They said that, well, she said they brought her in and showed her driver's license photos from 2017. And because she could only see the bottom half of his face, she took her thumb and covered the top half of everybody's face and picked him out the first one.
Oh my God. Did she know him when it all came out?
I mean, everybody knew him because he was the police officer of that tiny town 20 minutes away. But she didn't. She said that the first time she ever saw his full face was when she saw him in court.
Oh my gosh.
So in October of 2017, Grant pleaded guilty to murder in the first degree and was sentenced to 30 years for killing James. In February of 2018, he pleaded guilty to rape and was sentenced to 50 years.
He got more for the rape than the
murder.
Well, I'm just glad he's got 80 years to deal with this.
That's crazy.
Oh my God.
That's scary that one man can have so much power. And it was kind of strange because when I was first reading into this and watching different videos on this, the way Amy was telling the story, I thought she was going to say it was her husband because she kept saying, my husband this, my husband that. And then she got to the part to where they got divorced. And I was like, that's weird. Who else could it be?
Right.
But just somebody that you should be able to trust.
Man.
That's my story.
Oh.
About Roger and Gateway, Arkansas, population 3.
I'm glad he got caught.
I am too.
Dang, okay.
20 years.
Wow, that was a great story, Katie.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you can remember it from 4 weeks ago.
Twists, turns, suspense,
crime.
Ooh, that was the vibe.
What's your vibe?
So my vibe this week is Throuples.
Okay.
You know I love a healthy throuple.
I know you do.
I don't want to get involved in any messy relationships, but like you and Jane have a strong, you aren't bickering and fighting, and I'll slide right in there. Like, where are we going?
Okay.
What are we doing? The vibe is also newlyweds.
All right.
And the vibe is a honeymoon.
Okay. Where does the throuple come in
in
that sequence of events?
You're about to find out.
Okay, let's hear it.
So this is the story of a young woman named Christina Kettlewell. Have you ever heard of her?
Never.
Christina Kettlewell. So Christina worked at a bank.
I work at the bank.
Okay. She was 22 years old, and her boss at the bank described her as a very capable worker. Very happy with her. So this story takes place in 1947.
Okay.
I'm going to bring it up to date for you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm here for that. You know, I love a current full circle.
You can find these people, the descendants today, yes. So in 1947, 22-year-old Christina was in love with a man named Jack Kettlewell. Okay. She was 22, he was 26. But Christina's father did not approve of this relationship. Forbidden love.
Oh.
That's the vibe.
Dun, dun.
Where was the other dun?
I thought it was just 2 dun dun.
Oh, it is 2.
I know.
Insert. Dun dun. Okay. So the reason why Jack did not approve of, or the reason why Christina's dad didn't approve of Jack was because he was not a Roman Catholic, and they were a deeply religious Roman Catholics. And also, they thought his best friend was creepy.
Way to punish Jack for his friend's creepiness.
Well, I mean, Jack could have maybe not had him around 24/7.
Oh.
So one day, Christina just didn't come home from the bank. She was just missing. And so, they were looking for her. They alerted the authorities. Well, it turns out she was just with her lover, Jack.
Oh.
They had run off and gotten married May 12th, 1947.
Oh.
And they decided to go on an amazing honeymoon in Toronto to a cabin, and they were both from Canada. So this takes place in Canada.
Okay, thank you, because I thought,
Yeah.
Did she say where it takes place? Was I not paying
Canada.
attention? Canada. Oh, yes. Remember when we
Bring
did
back
that?
yes.
Season 1. Hoser. Okay.
So
my turn.
Jack was a war veteran, and he was stationed in the Dental Corps. With his best friend, dun, dun, Ronald Berry. The family and I both think it's weird that Jack and Christina went on their honeymoon with Jack's best friend, Ronald.
Okay. I'm just picturing Jake and I on our anniversary this past weekend.
Oh, yeah. Tell them where you were going to go.
And I said, I'm going to go to the pool suites in Illinois. And Amy's like, bet, I'm packing my bags.
Price and rooms. I need to get boundaries.
Can we get a late checkout?
I do. Like a pool. Oh,
Private? What?
So when Ronald went on the honeymoon with Christina and Jack, the family had already been kind of like, what the freak? But they started suspecting that Ronald was in love with Christina.
Oh, okay.
And they're like, well, maybe he just has it for her bad, so he's just going to follow them everywhere they go. But let me tell you more about Ronald.
Hey.
Who I've been calling Ronald.
Okay. I wondered, but I wasn't going to question you. I mean,
I was like, double down on a typo.
if you say his name is Ronald, then his name is Ronald.
I used to know a guy named Garland or Garnell, so I didn't think it was
Garnell?
If you're watching, Garnell,
Comment below.
Okay, so sorry. Let me tell you more about Ronald. He was from cut. Okay, let me tell you about Ronald. He had come to Canada from northern Italy and changed his name to Ronald Berry from Ronnie Ciuffo. And tried his hand in construction and insurance for a living, but he wasn't good at either one of them. He was 28, and he was now a professional ballroom dancer.
Oh, okay.
He owned a cottage in Severn Falls, which was about 40 miles from where Christina had lived with her family. So that's the honeymoon that they're taking, to Ronald's cottage.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So back to the love of Jack and Christina and their friend Ronald. As the three take off to enjoy their honeymoon. I wrote that 3 weeks ago. I still like it.
Now I'm picturing the two of them jetting off in their vehicles just up front, and then all of a sudden Ronald pops up and he's like, "Are we there yet?"
Have you seen that TikTok where it's like, it's finally me and you and you and me and our friend Steve?
Yes.
I can't believe that it's finally me and you and me, just us and your friend Steve. Do 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 Steve. Do 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 Steve. Do 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 do.
So this is Jack and Christina.
Aw, okay. They're cute.
Super cute. Okay, so they're on their honeymoon and they're enjoying this cottage when a boathouse owner, because this is literally like on the lake, okay, where this cottage is. A boathouse owner is like in a boat. Not his house.
Wait, isn't a boathouse a boat that you live in? So wouldn't you be in his house? Or is that a houseboat? It's so good to be back.
Welcome back. We've gotten more professional as the seasons have gone on.
We need
Clearly.
business.
Clearly. I gotta not write the story and not review it.
Okay, I'm glad that you said that because it's okay. I haven't reviewed my stories in 3 weeks as well.
Okay.
So
This is going to be fun.
Yes.
It's like a surprise for all of us.
Maybe we start doing that.
So yeah, you're right. A boathouse is a house on the water.
Okay, thank you.
Duh.
I was worried I was going to sound really stupid for a second.
I don't know what I was thinking. And then but before we started this episode for 20 minutes, I went on and on to Katie about how stupid people are.
She really did. We were really talking down anybody and
Yeah.
everybody.
You make one mistake, I'm like, "Durr."
And his houseboat that was only a boat.
Okay. Wow. So a boathouse owner realizes something's wrong. He looks and he can see like something floating in the water. And he can also see fire in the distance.
Oh, okay.
So he gets closer and closer and closer, and he discovers Christina floating face down in the water,
Oh, no.
wearing floral pajamas. This is like day 7 or 8 of their honeymoon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They haven't even come back from their honeymoon yet. So he jumps in the water, excuse me, to see if maybe he can still save her, because it's 9 inches of water. It said.
Wow, that's not very deep.
No, not very deep at all. He flips her over. She's clearly already dead,
Oh.
but she didn't have any soot on her, and he can clearly see a fire that the cottage
At
is
the
on fire.
cottage.
Yeah, she didn't have any soot on her. She didn't have any bruises. She's just dead, floating in 9 inches of water.
Oh, man.
So the police are called, and an inquest into what has happened is started. An inquest is like a police
Thank you.
investigation.
I was like, an inquest. That must be Canadian.
I know. It's a police investigation.
Inquest, okay.
One thing they find is that broke-ass Ronald.
Oh, now all of a sudden he's broke-ass
He's
Ronald.
Broke-ass Ronald had insurance policies taken out on both Jack and Christina before they left for their honeymoon.
What?
$5,000 for each of them. You want to take a guess at what that would be?
No, I'm terrible at this
In
game.
today's monies.
500,000.
You are terrible.
I told you.
It's 65,000. But it's also, this insurance policy is called double. I don't think I meant to put amenity. Double indemnity
Oh, yes.
provisions in the case of accidental death.
Okay.
He'd also taken out an insurance policy on, can you guess what else?
The cottage.
Yes. Yep.
And it was probably his idea to go to the cottage for their honeymoon.
Yeah. I literally typed that's suspicious.
That's weird.
So during the questioning and the police investigation, according to Jack and Ronald, during their stay at the cottage, Christina was acting really weird. And when asked to describe, what do you mean she was acting weird?
Yeah.
She would have extended crying phases, staring into space, and would allegedly go to Ronald and tell him that she didn't think Jack ever loved her or even loved her.
Okay.
The next thing that Ronald produces is suicide notes that she'd written to him.
That she gave to him.
One note was dated a month before they eloped. In the letter, she claimed that she had tried to poison herself and was questioning the proposal from Jack.
Okay.
And he's just not doing anything. He's just like, thank you for this letter. He's putting it in his shirt.
Okay. And I was like, his back pants pocket or something. It's going in the shirt. So he
And
was like, just.
Why? Isn't that weird?
He's like,
Yeah, thank you for writing me. I'll write you back.
check your mail later.
Another note to Ronald said she wanted to kill herself, but also take Ronald with her.
Oh, so she was, according to Ronald, in love with him.
Yeah.
Much to what?
Or So I don't know why my mind works this way, but I was like, when I read that she wanted to kill herself and take Ronald with her, and those two are best friends, and this is what, the 40s? Was there really like a relationship here with the two guys?
Okay, that's what I thought in the very beginning when you started telling the story that it was going to come to at the end that Ronald and Jack were together.
Right. Well, let's keep going.
Dun, dun.
So the next note was written the day before she died to her landlord. Okay, I'm sorry.
What?
That's the last person I'm writing.
No, I'd be like, good luck getting rent now.
Yeah.
Like,
I want to die in this house.
Good luck renting it out to the next person.
Yeah, basically telling her landlord I'm going to kill myself.
That's weird.
Very weird. So all of the notes were analyzed by experts of the time, and they said these were written by Christina.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
All of the notes were in Ronald's possession that he had allegedly ran into the fire to get.
That's weird.
So even the letter to the landlord hadn't been mailed or anything. It was just in the cottage. And he ran into the fire to get him out.
Because those are the number one most important thing that he needs out of the fire.
Yeah.
It's like, I knew I should have taken out that life insurance policy. Let me get this to show I'm innocent.
Yeah. So this is, let me go back and see what the original time was again. This was 1947 in Canada. So when the cottage burnt down, Christina was found dead. Just these two guys come back from their honeymoon. This was huge.
Yeah, I bet.
This was huge in Canada. The guys would be walking in to give their testimonies and like answer questions. And not only would press be lined up to take their pictures, women would be asking for their autograph and to take pictures with them.
What?
People are weird.
I'm sorry, what? That's not what I was expecting. Like they were getting death threats.
No,
or
they had a fan base.
what is there to fan about?
Yeah, fangirl. It's weird.
Hashtag anti-fangirling.
So this is what happened according to Ronald's
Okay.
account. He'd gone outside away from the cottage to tan. So he's out there laying on the beach. And when he decided to come back in, he could see the cottage off to a distance. And he thought, am I seeing smoke? Is on fire? And he was like, yeah, I am seeing smoke. So he's like hustling up a little bit. And then he finds Jack wandering around out in front of this on fire cottage, out of it.
What?
Out of it.
What?
Katie out of it.
Okay.
Disoriented it. So Ronald got Jack out of the house and away from the cottage that's on fire. But he says he could not find Christina anywhere. So he then obviously runs back in to get these suicide notes. And then he puts Jack in a boat to drive him across the pond, I guess, as they say. Do they say that?
Okay.
To the hospital.
They do now.
Jack, when he's questioned, later says he has no memory of that whole day. None. He did have a pretty serious head injury, and the hospital tested his blood, and it had codeine.
Oh, okay.
In it. So he's high, got a head injury, out of it. Out of it.
Okay, it's clicking now.
So when they were doing Christina's autopsy, she also had high levels of codeine in her body. And the autopsy further determined that her cause of death was drowning. Not fire, not smoke inhalation, drowning. So during Jack's questioning, he stated, are you ready for what he stated?
No, but yes.
That he had been having a long-term affair with Ronald.
Dun dun.
He did later recant that statement.
I'm sure he
And
did because it's 1947.
yeah. And said that the police had coerced him into saying that. So that was never true. The cops made him say that Ronald was his gay ballroom dancing lover.
Damn, those cops.
They're something. The lead investigator, his name was C.P. Hope, just really had his eye on Ronald. He just lied about everything. He is broke, remember? I said that he
Broke-ass Ronald.
Broke-ass Ronald. But yeah, he had the money to pay for these insurance policies.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So the trial goes on. All of these different versions are heard. Jury comes back and they delivered an open verdict.
Just like their relationship.
Oh, that was a good one.
Thank
That
you.
was a good one.
Just keep me. It's natural.
Just like their relationship. And open verdict means that they just couldn't agree.
What?
Yeah.
So, at this time, was Ronald on trial, or was Jack, or were they both on trial?
Both.
Oh, okay. And they just couldn't agree who did it, or if anybody, if it was somebody's fault.
So the state or the country, I don't know how it works in Canada.
The province
across the pond, agreed that they just weren't even going to retry it. Just let them go.
Wow.
And these are young men. So Ronald is $65,000 richer in today's money. And this is an article that I'm going to read you a little bit of because it's more modern. It tells you kind of what had happened after the fact. And it's from something called the Tan article in the Toronto Star dated October 17, 2007. Jack went on to remarry after this, okay? Jack's son, Richard, and his wife, Sharon, don't believe it. The couple says Jack was an easygoing person who actively avoided any situation where he had to assert himself. This meant always going with the flow, avoiding confrontation, never returning items he bought from the store, even if they were defective.
Sounds like me.
And leaving things likely unevenly spaced tiles just as they were, despite his second wife's protest. With his quiet and reserved personality, Richard and Sharon think the senior Kettlewell, who passed away in 1998, could have been strung along on a grand scheme. So they're blaming Ronald. I think this Barry guy sort of manipulated my dad, just dominated him, Richard said. That's what she said. What they don't understand to this day is why Jack never told them. Sharon, an amateur archivist with a passion for family history, was scrolling through microfilm of a local newspaper called The Advisor at Richview Library one day in 1992. That's when she saw it. In the library, when somebody finds something, you'll hear all of a sudden somebody go, "Oh," she said, slamming her hands on the table. The couple never brought it up to the senior Kettlewell, whose health was in steady decline. His second wife, from whom he separated in 1969 but never divorced, passed away last August. Ronald disappeared to New York in 1956, leaving behind a Pekingese dog named Ling for Jack's then 2-year-old son, Richard.
What?
The family never heard from him again.
Really?
So they were still in contact after he married somebody else and had a child.
What kind of contact?
We support you guys.
Yeah, we don't support murder, though.
Oh, why did they have to? Was that like part of their plan? Like, will this poor naive girl, she's in love with you.
But still, if Jack went on to remarry a woman and have children, then what's the point? You know what I mean?
Well, they couldn't have gotten married or gotten a house and a Pekingese together.
Never. Not in 1947.
No, they were still institutionalizing people for a mental health problem.
Right. Oh man.
8 days she was married. Crazy.
That's sad.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Christina Kettlewell.
Christina Kettlewell.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to tell you about this week.
That's a good, interesting story, eh?
Thank you, eh? I want to be like adios, but that's not what they say.
I think they just say toodaloo. Just kidding. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm excited to tell you about my next story.
Okay,
We're
well,
gonna keep them coming and keep them coming hot this season.
Yes, we are. We had 18 episodes in season 1. I went back and counted them yesterday.
Ooh, okay.
So I'm excited to see what we can do with season 2.
Because we're starting earlier, because season 1 started in January.
Yes.
And season 2 starting in August.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So catch us back at the next episode.
Yeah. What's the vibe?
What's the vibe? How do we end?
I don't know.
Keep vibing.
Thank you, Vibe Tribe. What do we say at the end? We need suggestions, I guess.
Yeah, how would you like us to close out the episode? You joined the podcast. Tell us what to do.
Let's try to commit for the next one.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye.